All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of the Inner Mastery Webcast. Now, there has been two previous episodes that I've done in the past, but this is going to be a new weekly series that is going to be available. I'm feeling it probably will be every single Monday. On Fridays, we'll still have the New Earth Teachings webcast as well. So a brand new online live stream series for everybody. And I feel that this is a good series to do because it's really helping us to work more deeply within, to helping us with our inner nature. And this is really what the series is all about, is I'll be connecting with spirit and just working with the inner self and just working with super consciousness, working with our own higher levels of consciousness. And of course, taking Q&A from everybody as well too, as we kind of go through the presentation today. And of course, after the presentation, whatever is on your guys' mind relating to what's shared, looking into inner processes, looking into inner development, looking into inner work, looking into how you are broadening yourself a lot more as we work deeper with ourselves. And so this is really the entire nature of the Inner Mastery webcast. So again, I want to say hello to everybody who is on the live chat right now. Thank you everybody for being here. Again, we'll be getting to questions here after the presentation today. And so, one of the topics I wanted to discuss today regarding the Inner Mastery webcast is, can intellect bring you into super consciousness? And of course, I have talked about the nature of intellect before as well too. And of course, like I said, there'll be a lot more topics that all of us can share here in the next little while. So as we go into the Inner Mastery webcast, we basically just start off firstly getting into center. Okay, so we have done this a little bit in the New Earth Teachings webcast as well too. But really all I want you guys to do is just create kind of like a ball with your hands. You're just putting this mudra together. Okay, so you're just interlacing all of your fingers together. And I want you to represent this as your center. Okay, so it's almost like you're seeing a white light directly in the center. Okay, now there is a purpose relating to this mudra. Okay, this mudra itself represents the matrix. Okay, so your fingers are kind of like the pillars of the matrix, the pillars of the universe in that way. And that, of course, the fingers can move, the fingers can stretch. And that is through the nature of the universe as well too. It is dynamic, it is movement. But when we look directly into the center, we see a white sphere, a white light. And that's what we connect to. And so we are just learning to connect completely to our center. So I want you guys just now, wherever you are, just to create this mudra, okay? And you can just kind of put it here by your chest. You can put it up here by your face, whatever you feel is good. Doesn't really matter. Okay, but I just want you to focus on the center of the mudra, that you're putting your hands together, and you're just focusing on a center light, okay? So if that involves closing your eyes, I just want you to focus on that center white light, that center white sphere, right in the middle. And I just want you to feel yourself connecting to that, for that is source, that is the center, that is God. All right? And anytime you feel that the day is kicking your butt, right? Or you're feeling that there's a blame game happening, or there's any other particular type of conflict, you go here. All right? We go into this mudra, we look into that center, and we go into that white light. Okay? And we just sit there. It's like we're just stationary inside the white light, inside that white sphere. And this is your center. This is your home. This is where everything is still. This is where everything is quiet. This is where everything is centered. All right? And this is helping you to bring yourself at ease. All you're doing is following the breath as you're in the center. You're just following the breath. You're calming yourself down. Very similar to like the BCR technique, right? Where we're doing the breath work. But all we're doing is it's a very, very soft, subtle breath. Deep breath in, deep breath out. And you're just going into that mudra. You're going into the center, right? So maybe you excuse yourself from a situation. You do this mudra. You go into your bathroom. That's fine as well too. And you're just sitting in the center with this mudra, right? With the white light, with the white sphere. And you just calm yourself down. You're completely in a state of calm. You're in a complete state of center, of neutrality. You're moving past the idea of a dynamic universe. You're going past the universal dynamic, okay? This is exactly what the Nature Collective showed me when I was doing psilocybin here just a few days ago. All right, I was able to see this entire dynamic matrix. I was able to see the pillars that represented universal reality. And within it all, within the center, there was peace, there was God, there was home, there was source, there was that center. And when you're there, you're just completely free. It's kind of like you're just putting everything on pause. You're putting yourself on hold. You're centering yourself. You're in that state of complete and total neutrality. And you're just following the breath in and out, and you just feel this comforting white light. And that is who you are. That is your true nature. So that's going beyond the universal matrix. So this is a very, very important thing as soon as we're starting to do our inner work as well too, right? What prevents many of us from going into our inner work is distraction, right? It is the distraction of the day. It is the distraction that we have. We have to take care of this errand. We have to run this course. We have to take care of these bills. We have to look after our family, etc. Absolutely, there's a time and a place for all of that. But there's also a time for you. There's a time for your center. There's a time for you to go within. And you want to make sure that you're just catching yourself throughout the day. You have errands to run. Hey, that's fine. We have errands to run. That's important. You have tasks you have to take care of. That's great. Go ahead and take care of those tasks. But look at in between of everything, right? Now, if you basically have to put a poster right in front of your desk while you're working and saying, don't forget to center, right? Remember that, catch yourself if you're distracted, okay? So you're just creating a simple poster, right? A little poster, maybe it's a little sticky note that you're putting on top of your computer monitor. Maybe you're putting it on your phone, whatever it is. But you're just saying, don't forget to center, all right? Know when you are distracted and don't forget to center, okay? That is a wonderful reminder, right? I have it actually right over here. I just turned my head over to the left. To the BCR technique, right? Do this, it feels amazing. Center past distractions, okay? That is a very, very helpful reminder. Now, again, as I talked about in the previous video relating to the point of no return part 2, is that we are moving much more into a new era, especially as we move into 2021. And this is going to be a time right now, especially these next few months, where we really need to learn how to do a lot more of our inner work, of our inner attunements. And we're doing inner mending in that way. And again, many of us will shift directly into the intellect. We'll get right into the intellect and say, okay, intellectually, how can I raise myself into higher consciousness? Well, again, it's like I've talked about before, right? The idea of the intellect is that it is a very, very base function. It is an analysis tool. It is a grounding tool. And as it's a grounding tool, it belongs at the bottom rung of the ladder. Now, there is an event that's going to be coming up here in the next little while with Adronis talking about the universal ladder. But basically, when we're looking at the intellect, we're looking at the lowest rung of the ladder. We're looking at a very base function. Yet so many of us are completely enamored with the idea of the intellect, with the intellectual mind. And whenever we get fully enamored by this, this is actually the very cause that's preventing us from moving up those higher rungs of the ladder. Because those higher rungs of the ladder will involve the idea of willpower. It will involve the idea of exercising our free will. It will involve the idea of being compassionate. It will involve the idea of being centered. It will involve the idea of moving ourselves into greater states of love, of joy, of happiness, of mercy, of gracefulness, etc. All of those are very much higher rungs of the ladder. But when we're looking at the intellect, it's way down here. It's right at the base. It's not to say we're being absent of intellect, because there's a base function to it. It's a survival instinct. It's survival nature in that way. So when you are attempting to uplift yourself, you cannot uplift yourself if you're in a state of survival, right? That's not going to happen. They're simply not compatible. You're basically not living a life anymore to survive. You are living a life to thrive, to move yourself upwards. And the intellect just does not curry in your favor relating to a portion of yourself that can help you with this. It doesn't know what it's doing when it comes to trying to understand superconsciousness. Again, it's like looking at a swimming pool. For a person who's never swam before, a person who doesn't even know the entire concept of swimming, right? And they don't even know what swimming is. They've never swam in a swimming pool. They don't even know what a swimming pool is, right? But they want to find out. They want to find out what they don't know, right? And the intellect must be my tool to help me discover more about what I don't know. No, it can't. The intellect is not designed in that way. The intellect is only able to take what it has accumulated pertaining to data and being able to analyze, to scrutinize, to examine what it already knows, right? So if you've never perceived the idea of a swimming pool, if you've never perceived the idea of learning how to swim, then how can you exactly develop a tool through intellect to try and do something that you don't know how to do yourself? You see, you can't. And this becomes a very, very big debate, often within the scientific community, is that we'll use technology to understand superconsciousness. You can't, because you don't even know what superconsciousness is. You're trying to break it down through the intellect. And again, you're trying to use all these figures, and you're trying to use these finite forms of math, and you're trying to be objective. You can't do that, right? This is why the intellect just is not the tool to use. It's not the alignment to get into, to moving yourself up into a level of superconsciousness. It requires who you are, the true nature of yourself, that which is truly undefinable. And the alignments you have to move into would relate to that of love, of compassion, of joy, because this is the natural vibration of who you are. You are a natural vibration of love, of compassion, of joy, and of happiness. And you have to get behind that completely. So the intellect doesn't get that. The intellect doesn't understand feelings. It doesn't understand emotions. And so it's like a robot. It's like a mechanized form aspect of ourselves that only wants to learn how to survive. And it is very fight or flight. It is very, very primal in that nature. But we rely upon it so much. Why? Because we're so used to feeding off the scraps of society. We're so used to feeding off the scraps of humanity, right? We feel that we're basically just having to make ends meet, that we need to go paycheck to paycheck, that we know that we need to go job to job, that we got to support our family. And we're the only ones who can support our family because our family isn't capable of supporting themselves. And that becomes a trap. You become a slave to the idea of an unquenchable fire. And that fire is just going to consume you because you're constantly in a state of survival, right? So we are looking to transcend out of the intellect, because the intellect can never understand superconsciousness. Because I hear from thousands and thousands of people that I've worked with throughout the years, Brad, I want to go up into the highest levels possible. I want to move up into superconscious. I want to go back to God. I want to go back to home. And I said, well, how do you think you're going to get there? Well, I mean, there's going to be like some sort of logical plan. There's going to be like a logical system, like a technique that you can give me that'll get me back up to God. It's not a plan, all right? And it's not a technique. And it's not some system that you can learn to bring yourself back up into the core. It's like I said, when you're here, right, using this mudra, and you feel the center within yourself, you have to go in that, okay? You're not pressing some type of button. You're not, signing some type of dotted line for you to go back into the center. You naturally move back into the center. You naturally come into the light. You move into that state of stillness. It's not a contract. It's not a machine. It's not some contraption. It's not some form of intellect that you are doing to moving yourself into the center, okay? You're doing it, right? How do I do it? How? You just do it, right? It's your own intention to move right back into the center, and then you exercise it. You apply it, right? But it's not coming through any particular form of intellectual form, right? So this is why I say you cannot use intellect to move into a state of superconsciousness. It's not possible, okay? It's the bottom rung of the ladder. So we have to get out of that old mentality of feeling that we need a system, we need some type of device, we need some type of instrument to getting ourselves into superconsciousness. Good luck, because that's not going to happen, right? You are going to bring yourself into super consciousness. You are going to realize that you are everything here, that you are the all and that you are the null, right? That you are everything and that you are the nothing. You're all that is and you're nothing that is at the same time. And once you understand that, because it is all about experience, right? For a person to actually know how to swim, they have to jump inside that swimming pool. Now they jump in. Now they feel the water around them. Now they start kicking their feet. Now they start moving their hands. Now they can start doing the butterfly. Now they can start doing backstrokes, all of that, because the water is teaching them this, right? You're going into the water is working together with you, and now you're able to experience what it's like to swim in the water. You're now learning how to float. You're now learning how to do the backstroke, to do all that, because the experience of being in the water has taught you that. Okay? This is how you move further into super consciousness. You dive in. You dive into the super consciousness, which means you completely make peace with the intellect. You're not trying to fight it. You're not trying to destroy it. You're not trying to nuke it, right? You're just making peace with it. You're just saying, I'm just going beyond it. I'm venturing beyond the intellect. I'm venturing beyond analysis. I'm venturing beyond logic. I'm venturing beyond reason. And I'm just coming into my feelings. I'm just being aware of everything that's around me, 360 degrees. I'm being aware of what it's like to be a tree. I'm being aware of what it's like to be a little ant climbing on top of a little hill there. I'm being aware of what it's like to be my next door neighbor. I'm being aware of the car that's parked in front of my driveway. I'm being aware of the sky. I'm being aware of the air I breathe. I'm being aware of the homes that are around me. I'm being aware of the population of the city. I'm being aware of what's underneath my feet. I'm being aware of every grain of sand that's around me. And it goes on and on and on and on. I'm aware of the birds that are chirping. I'm just aware. That's it. That's how you become super conscious. You become aware. You become aware of all these things. You become aware that you are everything that there is here. That you are the reality body. That everything around you is part of yourself. And you continue to expand yourself in that way. That doesn't involve intellect whatsoever. That doesn't involve the ego whatsoever. That doesn't involve any particular form of logical prowess. That doesn't require IQ in any particular way, all right? Your intelligence quotient, or really it's more so like an intellectual quotient, all right? So when we are coming into our center, when we are expanding ourselves, when we're becoming aware of our energy, when we're becoming aware of our surroundings, when we're becoming aware of all forms of life that exist around you, you are now starting at that process, right? So this is about just going out into your backyard, your front yard, your porch, your balcony, right? A nice little local park nearby, and just sitting by a tree, or just sitting by a plant, or sitting anywhere. Maybe having just have a little plant inside your space, right? I got this little guy right here, right? This is my money tree. No dollar bills on it yet, but I'm still working on it. So this is a little money tree that just sits right by me. And I also have an aloe vera plant behind me as well too, past the little backdrop here. And I just love sitting in my space with those little plants here with me and just growing and expanding your awareness. And now that awareness can go into different dimensions. It can go into different realities. So like I said, when I was on psilocybin, I was able to get the mushrooms to take me up into the astral realm, into the causal plane, while my physical body was still here. And you can do that, right? And a lot of people who say, yeah, okay, well, Brad, I'm into meditation, but, you know, I'm trying to go into those higher realms of consciousness. I want to go into the higher levels of the astral. I want to go into the higher levels of the causal. You can. Go ahead. But what about like a fourth density rule, like fifth density rule, and like who's creating these rules? What rules are you talking about? Well, you have to like do this first before you can go up to this dimension. Says who? Says who? Right? Your instrument, your body here, is a third density body, right? But your consciousness is boundless. And so you have absolutely no restrictions other than the restrictions that you create to move up into the astral realm, to go up into the causal plane, to move up into light dimensions, to go into the Akashic records, to go into all these places. You have the capability of doing every single one of those things, right? But it's all about you being here. right? Coming into your center, entering into that white spirit light, and letting spirit take care of things. And that's the biggest thing as you start to expand your awareness and you start to touch the intelligence dimension. Okay? Now, the intelligence dimension truly exists around all of us. It's what makes us who we are. It is the idea of a God dimension in that way. When you're touching the intelligence dimension, again in Sanskrit, it's referred to as chitta, right? It's the idea of pure intelligent infinity, pure infinite intelligence, right? There's nothing relating to an intellect that is a part of it. It's like an ocean of pure intelligence, right? And it's very much alive and it's living. But when you touch the intelligence dimension, you're touching God. You're touching all that is. You're touching the most beautiful, perfect intelligence there is. And when you start to touch that intelligence and you say, this is incredible, I want to dedicate myself to exploring this intelligence as deeply as I can, just being aware of it, being one with it, aligning to it, because there is such a beautiful essence of love within it. I want to dedicate myself to that. Well, great, because guess what? God is now going to devote himself, herself, itself to you. And God will become your servant, right? Because you've touched the intelligence dimension. You've moved into something that is so pure, it goes beyond memory, it goes beyond identity, it goes beyond intellect, it goes beyond ego, right? You are now moving into a constructless construct that represents the intelligence dimension, right? You're just right here, and you're touching it, and you feel it, and I call it spirit, right? Spirit is a very simple term for it. You can call it God, you can call it source, you can call it home, you can call it center, you can call it pure intelligence. It doesn't matter, it doesn't care what you call it, right? What matters is that you are working with that energy. And that is the nature of that intelligence, that spirit, working together with you. And it's like it's taking you by the hands, and now it says, hey, come follow me. I'll lead you into a dance, and now you can ask anything of me. What would you like me to do to serve you? How would you like me to serve you today? Well, I really like to take this trip to the Caribbean, right? I love to go here. I love to do that. Okay, well, we'll make that happen, right? So Spirit is now giving you the steps. Spirit's giving you the opportunities that are going to show themselves so that you can go to the Caribbean, so that you can go to Mexico. Oh, there's COVID-19. Right? As soon as we get into those limitations, as soon as we put those boundaries up and saying, well, this is in the way, that's in the way, then you're going to basically overpower those particular borders of belief over the opportunities that can come together. So you're working with super consciousness. You're working with spirit on that super consciousness level. In this alignment, you're able to move mountains just by the idea of commanding it, right? So that essence of working together with spirit, that essence of working together with super consciousness came to you through the idea of you just expanding your awareness. You see how it's not about trying to get systems, how it's not about trying to use some type of practice that will for sure get me there. It's about you, right? As you have that complete and total dedication to moving up into the state of super consciousness, then you will develop simple practices that will then follow along to move in there, to meditate, to go into that state, to follow the breath, right? To go into that white light. These are all just practices, but it's you, 100%, that's allowing yourself to move up into those super consciousness levels. So again, if we try to intellectualize all of this, if we try to put boundaries up relating to where spirit can take us, then we're going to have a hard time experiencing a lot of those wondrous adventures, explorations, opportunities that are around us because we keep sabotaging everything, right? So what we do is we firstly need to back up a little bit. Rather than going right up into super consciousness, seeing that God is your servant and God will serve you, we want to back up a little bit and we want to look into ourselves. So as we've expanded that awareness outwards, we're now going to expand that awareness inwards, all right? We're going to contract that conscious awareness directly into ourselves, okay? As we contract that directly into ourselves, we're now going to start looking into areas of ourselves that have greatly limited ourselves. So this is where I want you guys right now to get a pen and a paper or a notepad, right? Something like this. You want to use your little iPhone or your phone or anything like that, that's great. Because I have assignments for you guys. Okay, and this is again through your own willpower to do this. Okay, your own free will to do this. But nonetheless, many of you want to know, well, what do I do to go into the inner journey? So if you are willing, like I said, the first step is that you're just expanding your awareness. Okay, you're listening to you're feeling yourself become the neighbors. You're feeling yourself become the grass. You're feeling yourself being the little ant climbing on the hill. You're feeling yourself being the sky. You're feeling yourself pertaining to the outer environment, because that's something that you can currently relate to, right? You can relate to the idea of having a next door neighbor, seeing a bunch of houses, seeing a bunch of people on the street, seeing little ants climbing over hills, etc. And you're just connecting to all of those. You're just being aware of that. It's not about having as well, Brad, my third eye isn't very good. I'm not talking about a third eye, right? I'm talking about you just being aware of your feelings, being aware of where you can expand yourself throughout the outward reality, all right? So you play with that for a little bit. The second thing is now you take that awareness and you bring it within. You contract that awareness and it goes inside you. And now you take a little notepad and you just start writing things out within yourself about what is it that I feel is limiting. Now, if I understand that I am everything, that I am the entire universe, and that everything is possible, I need to now look at everything within myself that says, it's not possible for me to have this. It's not possible for me to be this type of person. It's not possible for me to be fully 100% happy because of this situation, right? So we just start writing things down on our little notepad, right? I can give examples about when I first began. I had a hard time loving myself, right? I had a hard time going into the bathroom and looking at the mirror and seeing myself. This is when I was just firstly starting to awaken. It took time for me to do that because I'd be kind of like this, be like that. Okay, I don't want to do it anymore, right? I'll look at myself for about 3-4 seconds and I'll pull away, right? And you want to work on that every single day, okay? So the first thing you guys can write down, the mirror exercise, all right? That is a very, very important one to do. You want to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and firstly just look. And now you start smiling, okay? And then you start saying, I love you. I love you. I love you, right? And that's the whole key. Now, it might take you guys several days. It could take you guys a few weeks. It all depends upon the person. I know it took me a few weeks before I could look at the mirror and say, I love you. I love you. I love you. Right? It takes time. It can take time, especially if we're feeling like we're down the dumps. We feel like we have nothing but trouble within our lives. And we feel like we're just pointing the finger constantly at ourselves. It's my fault that this has happened. It's my fault that I'm in this rut. It's my fault that I don't have enough money. It's my fault that I can't explore the world. It's my fault that I don't have enough friends. It's my fault that I don't have a partner. And it's over and over and over again, right? So as you go within yourself, you start just looking at these limitations. Am I completely okay with going into my bathroom and looking into the mirror and seeing myself and saying, I love you, while smiling, right? Can I do that? And that's what I ask on that notebook, right? I write that down and I go ahead and I try it, okay? And you practice that. Like I said, that's one of the most important, crucial first steps, is to be able to look at yourself. Because if you can look at yourself with the greatest light, you can look at anybody with their greatest light as well too, because everybody else just is you, right? How one person perceives another person is never going to be your perception of that particular person in question, okay? So you may have a best friend that says, oh yeah, I know Jack, he's a complete douchebag, and then you go and you visit Jack and he is one of the nicest people you've ever met. He's very sweet, he's very kind, he's very loving, he's happy, he does a lot of things for you. But your best friend, Dewey, just said Jack was a douchebag, right? But you don't see that yourself. You see a different perception. So this is giving you an entire impression that everybody that is in your reality is your person, is your people, right? They are the ones that will give a unique perspective through you because that's how you see them. You don't see Jack as a douchebag. You see Jack as a sweet, loving, wonderful man, okay? You see Dewey in that sense as maybe someone who's kind of temperamental at times, whereas other people can say, oh, he's a sweet guy, etc., right? Which means that we are trying to evolve past the idea of valuing others' opinions relating to your life, okay? And that's step number 2, is basically just valuing how you see your world, valuing your perception, because somebody else doesn't see your world and your perception. Well, then you must be wrong, and that person must be right, because that person lives in a big mansion and they make hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they have silk toilet paper that they use, whatever it is. We give so much credence to that particular person because we see them in such high value. It's time to let go of that. Is that you see everybody on an equal level to yourself, and that you are looking at your own perceptions about how you see people, and you validate those perceptions, which means you are stopping the invalidations of yourself, of your perceptions, of your point of view. Right? Adronis will come through all the time and says, we will tell you right now that everything we share with you right now is our perspective, our point of view. Why does he say that? Because he's letting you know that you guys are not beneath him and you guys are not above him, and that he is not above you and that he is not below you, but he's letting you know that we are just sharing perception. We're sharing a point of view so that there is an equal ground here. Okay? Yes, Adronis exists in the 7th density, and he lives in a pure light realm, consciousness, etc. But he does not see himself better than any of us, right? So the same thing goes with us, is that if we keep feeling that we're giving our power away to people, because here's my mom and she has more intelligence than me, and I should always listen to her opinions because my opinions don't matter. Yes, they do, right? Because it is through your opinions, it is through your perceptions about how you see reality, right? Your mom is not going to step into your body and start telling you, okay, you need to start seeing things in this way. That becomes an enslavement program, right? You start listening to what other people are trying to tell you, and you're giving them so much value. It's even with me. You guys don't have to believe a damn thing I say, right? You guys are just learning to move forward in your own perceptions. I only share what I've done that has moved me into where I am, and you guys can basically take it or leave it. It's okay, right? But nonetheless, nobody is going to occupy your body and say, you need to start looking at things in this particular way. You need to start seeing things in the way that I do, or else you'll get a whipping, right? So that becomes an enslavement program. So we are working as well, too, to see ourselves on equal ground with everybody else, right? If we see that there's somebody else that has a higher power, that's greater than ourselves, well, then we just become a peon to that person, and now we can be taken advantage of. We can become a puppet, right? So these are just things that you're looking at, right? You're looking at the mirror exercise. You're looking into the importance of validating your perspectives, okay? Validate your perspectives. If you see this person in a certain way, and they say, I feel like they've been a big bully in my life, well, then you validate that. Right? And another person says, oh, come on, they're not a bully, they're a really great guy, and blah, blah, blah. It's not about them. Get them out of the picture right now. It's between you and this person that came up into your mind because you've contracted your awareness, you've gone inside yourself and said, yeah, there's my cousin, and I have my cousin here, and I feel like he's really been a bully in my life. That is valid, okay? That is a valid perception. So we got to write that down. Cousin equals bully in my life, okay? Because that's, again, how you feel about them presently, okay? And you're just going through the list. You're going through the list of people that are part of your life that have represented your inner circle, and you are just giving a perception in regards to how these people make you feel, because we'll be getting into other things later regarding why they make you feel that way, okay? But really, it's the mirror exercise, it's the validation of perception, it's looking into your perceptions about how you see the world, and you're just writing them down, okay? It's writing them down. It's being aware of these people that have come into your life. So, Brad, why is it important that we write these things down? Why is it important that we look into the validity of our perceptions? Because it's going to help us with the next process, okay? So basically, as we have the mirror exercise, we have the validation of perceptions. Third thing we're going to move into is understanding those perceptions a lot more, right? So we're basically unfolding those perceptions a lot more. Basically, the nature of your own choice. So moving into the state of choice, right? About being able to interact with a person who you felt was your bully and you feel you couldn't stand up to. And basically, a lot of that represented because you felt like a victim. You were in a rejection consciousness. If you felt that you would stand up to them, you feel that there would be trouble, there would be problems. If I stood up to my mad cousin who was a bully to me, and I was basically just blindly did whatever he said for me to do, because I knew if I didn't, I would get hurt, right? So there's a consequence there pertaining to the idea of feeling rejected and feeling the threat of abuse, right? So it goes back into the three traumas. So what's going to happen is you're going to notice the choices that you have made because you are going to understand how to writing out the consequences if you didn't follow those particular choices, right? This is why many of us make these quote unquote bad decisions in our life, is because we're so afraid of the consequences if we don't. And if we don't follow through with these things, the consequence is going to be dramatic. Maybe it doesn't even happen that way, but that is what your fear is telling you, right? That's the idea of how your choice, how you feel about the rejection, how you feel about the abuse, how you feel about the consequence that says, if I don't do this, this is what's going to happen to me in return. This is what's going to be my outcome. So we want to write that down. We want to look at the three traumas: abandonment, rejection, abuse, right? But we can even go simpler than that. We can just look at the three core emotions: anger, fear, sadness, okay? So I'm just going to write this down, or just draw this out on the notepad here, so it makes it a little bit easier. Is we basically have what we could refer to as the star tetrahedron, okay? And we have the standard facing triangle, and then we have the inverted triangle, okay? So, yeah, there you go. So it looks like that, okay? So at the standard facing triangle, we have the three core emotions. We have fear, we have anger, and we have sadness, okay? So that in turn pertains to FAS, fear, anger, sadness, okay? Then of course we have the three traumas, and at the base it starts with abandonment, rejection, abuse, okay? So ARA, all right? So basically we're looking at the facade of ourselves, okay? Now why is it that the three core emotions are at the top of this? Because emotions are our messengers. We don't see traumas purely. We see traumas as being buried deep within ourselves. And so this is why it's representing the inverted triangle. So basically, if we're looking at that ugly, I wouldn't say ugly, I'd say rather the angry cousin, who's the bully in our life, who feels like the ugly bully in our life, we're looking into firstly, those three properties of emotional cores: the fear, the anger, the sadness. When I look at this angry cousin of mine, am I afraid? Yes. Am I angry? Somewhat, because I don't feel like I'm able to express myself, all right? Am I sad? Very sad, because I feel like I can't get out of it. All right, so that would show me that that person is compromised with the FAS of their emotional core, okay? And then we start looking and seeing how that interconnects together with traumas, right? So we know that there's fear, we know there's a little bit of anger there, and we know that there's quite a bit of sadness. But now we look at the idea of the cousin, that's the angry bully, and it's okay, so basically we've been able to identify the emotional cores, and we can work with those just by themselves. That's a great thing. But we can go a little bit deeper now, and we can go into the ARA, the ARA, the abandonment, the rejection, and abuse. When I connect with my cousin, do I feel rejected? Yes. Okay. Do I feel abused? Yes. Do I feel abandoned? Not really. I just feel more of the abuse and the rejection. Great. Just through that little evaluation, it took us under about a minute, we were able to pinpoint a very strong trauma within ourselves. So what do? Do we strap on the boxing gloves and go kick his ass? No, we don't do that, right? We are now completely understanding that fear and that some anger and that some sadness has come together by us looking into a state of rejection and abuse, right? If I don't do this, I know he's going to abuse me. He's going to physically abuse me. He's going to verbally abuse me in that particular way, all right? So when we're going into that actual practice of looking for an example of bully within our life, we have to understand that it is us ourselves that have been feeding that bully. We've actually been putting that bully on top of the pedestal here, because if we don't do what he says, we're going to know that there's going to be a consequence, and so we have to give them more power, right? And so we're feeling rejected because we feel like peons, and he is all high and mighty, while we're down here feeding off the scraps. So what we need to do is we need to give ourselves a state of self-retreat, okay? So let's just go over the simple, step-by-step things that we're doing. Okay. So number one, like I said, is the mirror exercise. You're looking at yourself because this is going to show you exactly how you see yourself right now, okay? So the mirror is number one, okay? Number two is looking at validity, right? The validity of your perceptions about how you truly feel about a person that's in your life that may be, for example, a bully, okay? Number three, we're looking at the consequences, right? The aspect of consequence of choice. The consequence through choice, right? So we're looking at the consequences of saying, all right, here's a valid perception of my cousin being a bully in my life, and now I'm looking at consequences, the choices that I made that represented of having a bully in my life. So it's consequences of choice. And the consequence of my choice was saying that I had to do what he said. I had to do exactly what he asked, because if I didn't, I knew that there would be consequences of me getting hurt, of me getting pummeled, who knows what, right? But there's a lot of fear there. There's a lot of abuse there. There's rejection, abandonment, there's fear, there's some anger, there's some sadness, okay? Great. So now what we have to do next for number 4 is retreat. Okay? So what does that mean? It means we go within. We are completely by ourselves. There is nobody within our space whatsoever. And we just start working together in this form of retreat to bring reinforcement. Okay? So number 4 basically has a 2-point quality to it, right? So it is retreat and reinforcement, okay? Which is very much like what the BCR technique is telling us, right? So basically when you go into number 4, you're doing the BCR technique, okay? You're doing breath work, you're doing calmness, and you're reinforcing yourself through your state of retreat. It's very important that you have your own space. If you have to go outside into your backyard, you go ahead and you do that. You have to go inside your tool shed. You go ahead and you do that, right? You want to make sure that you have your own space, that you're not being disturbed because it's your time, okay? So you go into retreat, you go into BCR, you go into breath work, you go into calmness, you go into reinforcement. So let's take a look at the idea of that cousin who is a bully, okay? So we've identified that. We understand the choices and consequences that we've gone through, which is number 3. And we're now going into a state of retreat. We're now going into BCR, okay? So we're doing breath work because we're thinking about that bully, and we're just calming ourselves down with the breath. In, out, in, out, in, out. All that exists is the breath. We're not doing anything else. We're not thinking about anything else. We're following the breath. We're feeling the breath going into the nose, out to the mouth, or into the nose, out to the nose. That's fine too, okay? Nonetheless, you're just paying attention to the breath. And you're listening to your body language as well too. If you're all tensed up, you're gonna have a hard time breathing, right? When your body feels all tensed up. Okay, so you're just telling yourself, loosen up, right? Go limp. Be as loose as you possibly can as you breathe in and as you breathe out, right? So you inhale and you exhale. And now you just keep breathing, whether it's 10 times, 20 times, 50 times, 100 times, until you feel like your body has gone completely limp, right? You feel like you've let go of any tension within the body. And for you to start off, a good thing to do is just tense up every muscle in your body as much as you can, because that's what it feels like to be really, really tense. And then you let go. This is what it feels to be completely liberated. This is what it feels like to be completely loose, right? And limp. And that's what we want to do, right? So when you go into the breath, that is exactly what the breath is doing. We're not just breathing for breathing's sake. We're using the breath to basically calm down our entire body. We're working with our endocrine system. We're working with our circulation. We're working with everything within our body to calm us down, because we're oxygenating the body, and we're oxygenating it for as long as we need to until we feel that body move into a state of calmness, right? So you pay attention to your body. Your body is your gauge. Now what do? What does this mean, guys? What's in the center? Is your white light, your white sphere, your center, your home, your source, God, okay? And that is where we go when we are calm, when we are centered. So the C in BCR also represents center, right? It's not just calmness, but it's also center as well too, okay? So now we're feeling centered and we're just staying there. We can space out into that state of centering for as long as we need to, okay? And now we're feeling relaxed. Now we're feeling calm. Now we're feeling tranquil. Now we're feeling centered. So what do we do next? We go into reinforcement, okay? So, like I said, as we're dealing with a bully within our life, we want to be aware of firstly one thing. It is not necessary for you to forgive another person, okay? And that's something very, very important for you guys to understand. When I basically say, if we're going to go into forgiveness, I don't know if I can really forgive this bully. You don't have to. You're not actually pointing your attention to the bully as well. That bully is just a reflection of you. Like I said, everybody is just another perception of you, right? We're not even really focusing on the cousin that is the bully in this example of what we're doing here with reinforcement. All we're doing now is just bringing up our love levels, right? Our love levels start expanding. They start getting wider and wider and brighter and brighter because we just think of a single positive thought. And I said, I just want you to look into your life right now and think of something, even if it's small, that you felt joyous about, happy about. Oh, I remember when I was 5 years old and my dad came home and bought me my first bike. And I was so happy about that bike. I was riding it around. I had a big smile on my face. I felt amazing. There's your love ball right there. A simple memory, right? A little gift that brightened your whole world when you were 5 years old, right? Being gifted a bike. Great. Yeah, when I was 17, my mom and my dad helped pitch in a car for me. And I got my own car when I was 17. Poof! Big love energy right there, all right? My first girlfriend, my first boyfriend, we had a wonderful romance. And that's, again, the part that I remember. Poof! There's a loving ball right there. The first time I was able to climb a mountain, it was so freeing. I was like at the top of the mountain. I could see everything beneath me, and I felt like I was just God above everything else. Poof! There you go, right? It's really simple to get these just natural, loving, positive vibes when we start to look, when we start going within ourselves. We start from the youngest years, and we move forward, right? There is something within your life that you felt really, really good. It was Christmas time, right? And I got this new video game system. I got a Super Nintendo, and I was playing it like crazy. I got like 10 games with it, and I was so happy. I was dancing around the room. Poof! There's positive energy, okay? There's love energy right there. So, like I said, for pretty much all of you guys that are watching this right now, for those of you that are watching this on recording, I can guarantee you have some type of positive memory, okay? But what's happening is that you've drowned yourself. You've drowned yourself in so much negativity. It's time for you to swim into this up to the surface, okay? And that's what we are doing when we do the BCR technique, right? We are breathing until our body is calm. We are centered and calm, and we're neutral to ourselves. And now we can, through the neutrality of our subjective perspective, go into our life and look at something that brings about positivity. Just something small. Doesn't have to be something gigantic and say, oh, I'm running for the President of the United States. No, I don't think so, right? Just something small. I got this bike. I got this video game system. I met the love of my life when I was 16. I got a new car, etc. Great. Poof, poof, poof. All of these little love ball energies pop up as soon as you think of that positive thing, okay? And all we're doing from there is we're just saying, no, let's just make that a little bit happier. Make it happier. Okay. I feel like I was able to put rocket engines on my bike, and I was like, psh, just shooting itself down the street. We don't have to say like it actually happened. We're taking our imagination and we're vamping up that positive energy. I was on top of the mountain. Now I was able to feel myself levitating on top of the mountain. I was able to go up into Earth's atmosphere, and I could still breathe. And I could see all the stars, and I could see ships, and I could see a Pleiadian flying by and saying, hey, human, how's it going? Right? That makes you really excited. Great. So what we basically do is we take that common positive memory and we exaggerate the living hell out of it. Or rather, exaggerate the living heaven out of it, right? We make it absolutely blissful. We take our imagination and we soup it up, we vamp it up. We go into the astral, we go into our imagination and saying, not only was it a bike, it had rocket engines on it. And I was like, just like a little blur of light. And I was going down so fast the street, I was streaming right past people. I was knocking people's clothes off as I was flying down the street with this rocket-powered bike. Great. Gets bigger, gets bigger, gets bigger, gets bigger. And all of a sudden, this bike could fly. I was flying in the air. It was like E.T., right? The movie E.T., where I'm like being lifted up off the ground and I'm pedaling, and now I'm flying in the air. It's great. Great. That's the whole idea. We're making it big, 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 big until we can only go as far as our arms can stretch. That's so much positive energy right there. That's so much love energy. So now that we have been able to basically stretch out our hands as far as they can go, because we've used our imagination to amp up that positive energy, we're now just condensing that positive energy. That's so powerful. It's now the size of a tennis ball. Okay? Now we're putting it inside ourselves. All right? So now we have all of this love energy that's coming through us, that's flowing within us. And we're not really doing anything with the love energy. We're just storing it in ourselves. Do we have another positive memory? Poof. We'll do that. We can build it up. We can put that into ourselves. What we are attempting to do is get high, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? We're getting high off love. We're not getting high off weed. We're getting high off love. All right? Maybe if it's the idea of smoking a bong, if that makes you happy, then go ahead and do it. It's fine with me. Right? But we are getting so friggin' high on our love energy that now we can look at these situations regarding the bully and saying, can I completely dissolve away that fear now? Because this is where spirit is working with you. Because as soon as you're getting yourself that high on the love energy, guess what's happening? You're touching the intelligence dimension, right? You're touching intelligence. Pure intelligence in that way, because love is the key to getting yourself there. As love is the key of getting yourself there and you start touching that intelligence energy, this love energy, spirit, comes to you. And now you can start working within yourself and saying, I've had this feeling of fear and anger and sadness around my cousin, and I'm now ready to fully let that go because I'm so high on love, I never felt that I could feel this happy. I'm ready to let all that go. And within seconds, you start to feel all of that energy uplifting. You start to feel all of that buried tension underneath yourself relating to your cousin. And now things are letting go. Okay? Same thing with our traumas as well, too. We are just so high on love energy that the traumas can melt away. Right? It's like holding melting ice. And the ice just starts to melt away at a very, very rapid rate. Because we're so high on love. This is it, guys. This is all you have to do. Did I have to forgive my cousin? No. Did I have to go out and do a bunch of things, a million different things to feel like I have to forgive him? No. All I had to do was get myself high on love. I got myself so high on love that I was able to release everything that I no longer preferred. Okay? That is the big secret, everyone. You want to know the very big secret about moving yourself into super consciousness is through you getting yourself high on love, right? Your love energy is so high. You're feeling so positive. You're feeling lighter than air. Your body doesn't tense up anymore. You feel so light. You feel so positive. You feel like you're floating. It's like just a dream. You're in this beautiful dream, and you're just pumping yourself up with more love. You want to put more of those energy balls and putting them up and putting them inside yourself. You can do as many as you want, right? But you're floating on this high, right? It's not something that any substance can take you. It's just your natural high. You're at natural highness to get there. And now you're telling yourself, you're telling spirit, I'm ready to clear away this fear. I'm ready to clear away this anger. I'm ready to clear away this sadness, because you genuinely feel that your love energy is so beyond it. And now you can do it. You've now reached the magnitude of alignment where you can surpass dense feelings, dense emotions, dense traumas. And now it goes away, just like that. And if you guys can do this every single day, and you just elevate yourself higher and higher into pure love energy, you are going to be touching that intelligence dimension all the time. And spirit will come to you and saying, hey, what would you like me to do for you? Clear away all this debris. Clear away all this trauma. Clear away all this fear and anger and sadness, because I feel it and I'm able to completely move past it because I got clarity on it. That's how I looked into my validity. That's how I looked into my consequences of choice, right? I understood what I was going through. And now I'm able to see clarity by being high on love. You see, clarity is important. We want that clarity with love, that we are now surfing high, high above all of that debris here in the basement. And now we're able to clear it out. It's like garbage bags just dissolving all around, right? Now you have a big, shiny, clean basement. But that, again, is just one facet of yourself with the idea of the cousin. So now you got high, right? And you were able to clear all that out. Now things are suddenly changing. Your cousin isn't really like that anymore. You start talking to him and you notice that there's been a change. There's been a shift in him. And he feels like he's a lot more understanding, right? Something happens to tie the knot here relating to peacefulness, right? This is exactly what happens. When you know you've truly released something, everything in your reality is going to shift appropriately to make that correspond together regarding this big shift that has happened between you and your cousin. You now talk to him the next day. He seems a lot more nicer. He feels a lot more open. And this is an opportunity to bury the hatchet, to give each other an embracing hug. Something happens within your reality that notices there's a great change that's happened, right? You feel a lot more loving toward him. He feels a lot more understanding towards you. Something takes place that brings a harmony to that situation. You see, vibration is not going to deceive itself. If you, again, master yourself to the nature of your highness of love, and you apply that into a theme of your life, that aspect of energy is going to shift. And all of a sudden, you're creating a new version of your cousin that you never thought you would ever see. I've had people do this, right? They do a BCR technique, or they work with themselves deeply, and they used to have fights with their partner. It was like the next morning, it's like they're emailing me. It's like, Brad, it feels amazing. Like my partner feels like a completely different person right now. I don't know. He's shifted. He's done this. He's done that. But something's happened. I feel like he's just a completely different person because I did a lot of work on myself last night. And now it feels like my whole reality has shifted. I said, well, of course it has. You've commanded it. You've commanded your reality to start shifting in this way because you got high on love. And don't stop there. Keep getting high. Get high as often as you can, right? Stay on that state of natural high, right? Because as you do this more and more and more, you'll just naturally pick yourself up those natural levels. Your brainwave states will start to change as well too. You may start to just naturally vibrate into an alpha or theta range all the time. Because over time, as you get high on love, your brain chemistry changes, right? Your brain waves change. Your body starts shifting, right? You start feeling a lot more healthy. You start feeling there's a lot more vitality coming into your body. You're getting a lot more circulation flowing through yourself, right? There's a million things that can happen to you when you start moving up into those higher elevations of consciousness because you're getting high on love. That's all we have to do, guys. It's getting high on love. It's getting high on ourselves. Did I have to forgive that cousin? No, I didn't have to do that at all. I just worked with my emotions. Because it was my emotions and it was the traumas themselves that were feeding this impression of what my cousin represents. Because again, I've looked at the consequences of my choices. And I gave my cousin that power to be the bully over me because I was so afraid of the consequences. But now as I was able to let all that go, that doesn't exist in my reality anymore. And it's like a Rubik's Cube. And it starts shifting. And now I start to realize something profound. I can completely command my own reality to do whatever I want. Yes. And that is the nature. That is who you are. That's how powerful you are. Okay? So look at those 4 steps. Okay? Look into the mirror firstly. This is again telling you about how you're truly seeing yourself. Right? Look into your validity of perception about how you see your world. Okay? Look into your choices and consequences of those choices. Fourthly, go into retreat and perform BCR, okay? Breath work, calmness, centering, reinforcement, okay? So that is the presentation I wanted to share with all of you guys today. Okay, if you guys do have any questions for me, I'll take the chat now, because that was about an hour-long presentation. It certainly it felt like I was only talking like 20 minutes, and now here I am like an hour later. All right. So, if you guys do have any questions, I'll just move up the chat here. Just in regards to like what we've talked about today, a lot about inner work, inner exploration, inner self. Okay. Just people basically just having a nice conversation. So, Foxy Aloxy asks, intellect is ego, is it? Not the entirety of the ego, no. Basically, when you're looking at intellect, it is the examination quality, it is the analysis quality pertaining to the ego. It basically has its own kind of mainframe to it, right? But the ego would be a consortium pertaining to the idea of one's identity, one's memory, and one's intellect, okay? So the intellect is our analysis side. It's like the scalpel of ourselves, right? We are basically using the intellect to cut into everything and examine everything and analyze everything and trying to feel that analysis and being able to look at statistics and all of that, right? It's the data. It's the data searching. It's the data scrutiny. It's the data examination. That's the nature of the intellect, right? When we're looking into memory, well, then that's pretty self-explanatory, right? You have to remember everything. So basically, the ego would be the accumulation of those three things. That would be the accumulation of your intellect, of your identity, and of your memory. The fact that you have to identify with everything. The fact that you have to say, I belong to this religion. I belong to this family, and family is the most important thing to me. Your beliefs, right? And that really comes into the state of your identity. So when we're looking into ego, it is a combination of all three of those things, right? And this is, again, going back into like yogic sciences as well, too, because they've talked about this, and they're right on the money with it, because it's probably one of the most accurate philosophies and understandings relating to the intellect, to the ego, to the identity, right? But the ego is really the accumulation of all three of those criteria, right? Identity, intellect, and memory, okay? And so it combines together. And it's like I said, it's good. It's a good base function. We certainly, benefit from it on a base level because it helps us to understand more about our reality, right? It's 5 sense reality, really. And the ego thrives on that because the ego thrives on things that it can see, smell, taste, touch, and hear, on the things that it can perceive, on data, right? It can go into memory and it can look into these things and it can recall certain things. And it can go into the nature of analysis. It can go into intellect and trying to analyze everything and examine everything and scrutinize everything. And it relates to everything pertaining to identity because these are the pillars that you've put up in the foundation of yourself. So basically, there's nothing wrong with that, having that on a very, very minimal scale. But what so many of us have done is done this, right? And it's now so gigantic and vast, we've made our entire life about the ego. We've made our entire life about identity. We've made our entire life about memory. We've made our entire life about intellect, right? So that is exactly why we're shrinking this down. And we shrink it down by getting high on love. Because all of these steps here are just the steps moving you up into going within and following a simple process that, again, you are willing to follow, because that's the most important thing. If you're not willing to do any of this, there's nothing anybody can do for you, right? But if you're willing to follow this, then this is a process that's going to move you up that ladder, and you're going to get so high on love energy because you'll know what love energy feels like. You know that you're feeling amazing. Ego doesn't do this for you. My God, does the ego never do that for you? The ego doesn't make you feel amazing. At best, it's like, yay. It's like a logical yay. Say that more logically. Yay. Right? That's exactly the best thing that the ego can do for you. Right? But when you're moving up into love, it's, oh my God, yay. It's earth-shattering. It's incredible. You're standing on top of the world like a god, right? And that's what love brings you. That's what happiness brings you. That's what joy brings you, okay? And the best way to teach these things is through example. This is why I give the example of the angry bully of a cousin in that way. You teach by example. And then when you teach by example, this is what is actually helping people to understand this a lot more. If I basically just came up to you and just started talking intellectually about how to move into super consciousness, well, then that's being quite hypocritical, because you cannot use intellect to move up into superconsciousness. You cannot use memory to go up into superconsciousness. You cannot use identity to go up into the superconsciousness. Those are the three weights that are keeping you from going to superconsciousness, right? And they're all accumulated in together in this big ball we call the ego, right? So we are shrinking the ego down by bringing more love energy, right? We're expanding it and expanding it and expanding it, making it bigger and bigger and bigger until we're so frigging high that we have absolutely no problem looking past the emotional cores, the traumas, the lack, right? Because there's nothing within ourselves in that moment that represents lack. We're pure love. So we're able to dissolve that lack easily, right? And we work to maintain ourselves. And that's the challenge. We work to maintain ourselves by staying together in that love energy, because we're going to have other facets to look at. This is just one facet out of many facets, right? The angry cousin bully, okay? There's many other facets you have to yourself, and you want to work on them daily. So if you are diligent in working with this on a daily basis, I would say within 6 months, you are going to see yourself profoundly shift, okay? So again, like I said, it's when you're getting yourself high. If you are not high, you're not going to resolve this. I can guarantee you that, okay? If you are basically facing that angry bully of a cousin, right? Cousin of a bully, whatever, and you are not willing to get high, you're not going to be able to resolve this. You may get little pieces, little chunks here and there, but that bully will still exist because you have not been able to bring enough powerful love energy towards this entire situation to shift it, right? You got to be light. You got to feel floaty. You got to feel so good, right? It's like you're high on helium. It's like, hey guys, I'm up here, I'm way up here, blah, 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 right? You're going to summit level manifestation, like what I've talked about, okay? You're right at the summit. You're floating high and high and high, higher and higher and higher. And you're going right to the top of that mountain. You're sitting on your throne. And now you look down at the valley, because that's where the ego is. And you're so high on love energy, you just throw all these rainbows at it, right? You throw all this love at it. And you just tell Spirit to come in. Spirit takes care of it all. You do not need to dive deeply with a scalpel and need to cut and examine and, oh, hey, this happened, and then he did this, and then he did this, and he took care of this, and then he tried to run me over with the car, and blah, 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 right? And we get too much into cross-examination, right? We take that scalpel of intellect and we start slicing, and this is what my cousin did, and then he did this thing, and he did a horrible thing. Enough. We don't want to hear the melodrama of the backstory, okay? And that's another important thing, guys. We are not interested in the story of what you are going through, okay? Not important. Because if you dive into that story, what you're doing is you are perhaps even unaware that you're just giving your cousin more power. You're giving this bully more power because you're getting upset, you're getting frantic by going into the story a lot more. And then he did this to me, and then he took care of it, and then he did that, and then blah, blah, blah. And now all of that energy is being pulled from you and being put towards this subject, because that's the energy you're giving it. And that's what happens when you buy into stories, right? That's what happens when you go into the stories of your own dramas, when you go into melodrama, okay? We are not about melodrama. This is what I've taught my students in the Spirit Ambassador classroom, okay? We're not about melodrama. We're not about stories. We're not about feeling that you have to go so deeply into examination and what your cousin did to you and how horrible he is and blah, 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 and he used me as a footstool one day and blah, 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 blah. And you get so much into that victim consciousness, right? And it can be other forms of, lower forms of consciousness as well too. And that, again, piles up. That's more garbage bags being piled up into your basement, okay? So we want to be aware of that. Do not get hooked on the melodrama story of your experiences, okay? Just realize it's there. You've validated your perceptions. You've looked at the choices that have led to consequence, okay? Now you go into retreat. That's all you're doing. Very, very bare bones. Bare bones simple. Does it make you fearful? Does it make you angry? Does it make you sad? Yes, 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 okay? Rejection, abandonment, abuse. Yes, 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 okay? And you got a full out situation here, okay? So now we get ourselves high, okay? And we go into a state of retreat. We go into our state of reinforcement, okay? That's the process. We are not interested in the 1,050 pages melodramatic story created out of this, okay? That does not help you. Does not help you, does not help anybody else. A person who feel you're helping this, if they want to tell their story, go ahead and let them tell their story, right? But you're not focused on that. So wait till there's a pause and saying, I understand this is important to you, but what I can tell you is that your story isn't going to make you feel better, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to do a simple exercise because you're willing to help getting you so high on love that you have no problem forgiving all this, okay? So you do it in a nice, polite way to kind of interject and help another person that way, or just get them to watch this video if you feel that you're not up to it, okay? But this is, again, what we're going to be doing every single week. We're going to be doing more of the inner mastery and just looking into these situations because, like I said, this is the most important thing to do right now, especially over these next 6 months, okay? So you guys can refer back to these videos. You can refer back to the first two inner mastery series as well, too. There's a lot of things we're going to be talking about here. Okay, let me go down the list here. Yeah, Anders says, agree with Brad, forgiveness is the recognition that there isn't any need for it. Everything happens for a purpose. Yeah, because it's you that's putting that purpose forward, right? So all you're forgiving is just the very emotions and the very lack that you decided to follow that brought you into that situation in the first place, right? If we basically feel that we've made a decision to pour tar over ourselves, then what we're going to do is we're going to clean ourselves up, right? So we're cleaning up that old mess. That's it. And we don't have to look at the story. We realize the repercussions, the consequences that it has done to us, and now we're going to correct it, right? With a great amount of stagnancy, we're now going to put a new charge of love energy, and that's going to rebalance everything, okay? Let me just go down the list here a bit more. Oh, Jane, thank you for your donation. I appreciate it. That's great. Okay, here's one from Zach here. How would you say naturally channeling ties into these higher waves of awareness, wanting a clearer understanding of that mind, higher mind union? Thank you. By going beyond the mind, right? Going beyond everything that represents mind, because again, you're still looking for a state of identity. Whenever you're looking at a higher mind, there's still a form of identity there, right? The mind is basically trying to create everything that you can relate to, everything that you can express, everything that you can associate with. We want to go beyond that. This is why I say we go right up to spirit. We go right up into the intelligence dimension. The intelligence dimension is not mind, guys, okay? When you are touching the intelligence dimension, no mind, okay? You have gone past no mind, which means you're in a state of non-doing. You're in a state of beingness, okay? In a state of beingness exists beyond the mind. And that's what you do when you get so high on love. You're not concerned about its identity because it doesn't have any, right? When you're looking at the purity and highness of that love, there is no identity to follow. There is no memory to follow, right? There is no intellect to follow. You let all that go, right? And you're just high on love and you're loving for loving's sake. There's no other form of need for that, right? You're just getting high on love and you just love everything because everything is you. You love the all, you love the null, right? That's all you're doing. You're getting so high on everything, you're going beyond the barriers of the mind. You're going past the causal, right? You're coming right into the intelligence dimension. And the intelligence dimension exists beyond the mind, okay? It is just the pure intelligence. There's no memory there. There's no intellect there. There's no identity there, okay? It's pure, loving, infinite intelligence. And that's what you're touching, right? When you're going up into the highest levels of love. That's it. This is why I say we do not associate with stories. You know, you guys could tell me a great sob story about how this happened to you and how that happened. And you could basically write enough stuff to fill a phone book, right? And that's fine, but that's not going to get you anywhere, right? You could tell your story in the greatest ways that you can. And maybe it might bring some relief here and there because you're remembering certain things, and that can help. But really, the whole key here is that when you start moving up into the highest levels of love possible, you get high. You are so beyond this aspect of fear, anger, sadness, abandonment, rejection, abuse, and lack. You have no problem forgiving it. It's like a wave of the hand. Spirit, take care of it. Done. Spirit takes care of everything for you. That's what happens when you work with the intelligence dimension. This is what I've been working on now for almost the past year of my life. Okay? Spirit takes care of everything. Takes care of everything. You got debts, right? Get yourself high on love. and clear away all the emotions and traumas linked to that debt. Spirit, take care of it. Done. Now all of a sudden you start seeing these incredible situations unfolding that start to clear that debt away, right? Did I get involved in trying to personally clear that debt through examination, through intellect, through ego, through any of that? No. I let Spirit take care of it, and Spirit took care of it. Resolved. All of these things just suddenly started to change. I didn't have to do a thing except get high on love and trust Spirit and let it lead me through a dance. I didn't use the mind at all, right? This is something that many of us are unfamiliar with. But if you basically talk to the yogis in India, they're like, oh yeah, we know about this. This is all part of yogic science. This is nothing new at all. They do it all the time, right? It's part of the ancient knowledge of the East, right? They've talked about this for thousands of years. Let Spirit take care of everything. Get yourself high on love. Go past the mind, go past the body. Spirit will take care of everything, and it will. And that's how you do it. Why? Because I've done it, right? I've had Spirit come in. I've had Spirit take care of many things in my life. There's certain things I still like to take care of because I enjoy the experience, but there's things I feel that I'm ready to let Spirit take care of. And it does every single time because you get high on love. You get high on this energy that's so powerful. You're at the top of the summit, right? At the summit, all there is a throne. You're sitting in your throne. And now it's between you and God. Now it's between you and heaven. Now it's between you and the center, right? And now you can command Spirit to be your slave. Okay? Oh my God, are you serious? Yes, completely. Because in that sense, there is a divinity through Spirit that will serve you to the point that it appears as a slave. Okay? Divinity will be your slave because you have given so much power to divinity, to yourself, to love. And that's all there is. You don't care about the melodramatic stories of the mind, of it being a monkey mind, of it being a reptilian mind, whatever. You don't care about it, right? You just walk through life like this, and you're not attaching to anything. Sure, you're using tools here, you're using a pen here, using a computer and all that stuff. Can you drop it at a moment's notice? Hell yes, right? Can you drop this body at a moment's notice? Hell yes. Everything can be dropped just like that. And you're not disconnected from anybody. You see everybody as yourself. You see souls instead of people now. You don't see male and female anymore. You don't see kids. You don't see adults. You don't see seniors. You see souls, right? And this is a greater understanding that we'll get into in more episodes, okay? But that's the whole nature, is that when you are moving up into this highness of love, the world that you understand now just won't be there. You'll see such a higher perception of reality. Maybe some people may have a hard time relating to you. And I think that's, again, what other people fear, is that if I'm going to be in this state where I'm just moving into super consciousness, I won't be able to relate to people. There's a lot of people you won't be able to relate to, and that's true, right? But there still will be some who you will relate to, right? Because, again, it's all part of what you're telling Spirit to bring to you. Bring me other people who can relate to this understanding, and you'll find them. You guys found me because I completely relate to this understanding, okay? So like I said, it's just more episodes down the road, more webcasts that we're going to do to look into this a lot more deeper, okay? Okay. Zach says, thank you for the clarification. Follow-up, would you recommend this process for developing channeling and relationships with other beings? Sure. Go ahead. I mean, I've met lots of interesting beings along the way, right? Not just Adronis and not just Lexi and all that. You can do whatever you want with this information, Zach. It's up to you, right? Whatever you decide to do, if you want to connect with this energy and connect to angels, just go talk to God. Go talk to God. Go talk to the Creator, right? You can go ahead and you can do that too. You know, it's basically, oh, I want to talk to extraterrestrials. Okay, that's one layer. Okay. I want to go talk to the angels. Okay, that's another layer. I want to go right up to the source. I want to go right up and talk to God. That is beyond all layers. Okay. Because anything underneath the intelligence dimension is mind. So if you want to play with the mind, go ahead. You know, it's something that can serve us. It's something that can help us in certain ways. but it's not something that liberates you. Okay, liberating yourself is going beyond the mind. You can play with the mind. It's like a jungle gym. It's like a playground. We can have fun with it if we want. But we'll know in that sense if we truly want to move into the nature of superconsciousness. Superconsciousness is not mind in any way. Okay, the subconscious is mind. But when we go beyond mind, you're coming into true superconsciousness. Okay, you're playing with the intelligence dimension. You're working with the intelligence dimension. You are the intelligence dimension. You and God are at one-ment with one another. Okay, so like I said, this will be stuff that we'll be talking about in future webcasts. Okay. Ender says, how to connect to Earth's collective consciousness. You want me to intellectually explain to you how to connect with Earth's collective consciousness? Ain't gonna happen. Right? So you have to go into yourself, right? You have to go inward. It's basically like these 4 steps that I was talking about in that way. But even before the first step, I was talking about the idea about being able to expand your awareness. So what I can say to you in the closest way of an intellectual manner is just feel the earth around you. Feel what it means to you. Feel what feelings come in when you start to connect with the grass, when you connect with the trees, when you connect with the sky. You want that rapport, right? You're developing rapport. If you want to talk to the earth collective consciousness, you have to feel the earth as it is. If you want to go talk to the ocean, you have to feel the ocean as it is to you, okay? It's all about rapport. It's about recognition of that understanding. And now that you have some feeling that this is the earth collective consciousness, when I connect with the earth collective consciousness, all I basically say is earth collective consciousness, come through. And it comes through, right? So yes, I'm thinking of the earth, I'm feeling the earth, but then I just say earth collective consciousness, come through me. And the consciousness comes through me. And that's how I get the earth intelligence reports, okay? With everybody else, it's different. Doesn't mean that that way is going to work with you. This is why I say you have to feel the earth out. You have to put your hands on the grass. You have to touch trees. You want to look at the sky. You want to look at the oceans. You want to feel them within yourself. And now you want to feel that collective. And how you interpret it is entirely up to you. So it is a self journey. It's a self-exploration. Okay? Thank you, Anders. Daniel says, do you think you would be at a disadvantage in life by living in love and having your guard down? What makes you think that living in love has your guard down? Why would you need to put a guard up? Why do we put guards up, guys? Daniel, that's what I'd ask you. Why do we put guards up? Do you know why we put guards up? To protect an ego. That's it. When you are in a loving state of being, you are absolutely at a state of great power. But you're not having to defend yourself about anything because love energy is not insecure, right? When you're truly in that state of high love, why would you need to defend yourself with anything? You are everything. You are everyone. You are all. You are null, right? What is there to defend? Your pride? That's your ego. Right? Having to defend yourself, having to defend your honor, that's your ego. Got to defend your family, that's your ego. Got to defend yourself, that's your ego. Okay? That's all ego. Everything relating, I got to put a big gigantic shield right here because I'm so absolutely insecure with myself. If I don't, people will trample over me. Yeah, because you're completely insecure. And you're basically creating all of those people to come with spears and start attacking your shield. You're making all that happen. Go back into this process. There is never a need for you to defend yourself. There is never a need for you to guard yourself or to protect yourself other than to try and barricade a very fragile, insecure ego. That's why you guard yourself. That's why you feel that you have to put up a gigantic shield, right? And we'll talk about that, okay? So no, when you're in love energy, everything falls down. This is where I say when you're tensing up your muscles and then you start putting love energy, everything starts to go limp. When you're limp, can you hold up a shield? No, you're going to drop it right on the ground. You're going to hold a sword? Bleh. Nope, it's going to go right on the ground. You have nothing to hold up. You're completely 100% vulnerable, right? And you're okay with that. You're so completely in love and saying, I don't care about Brad. He's just an identity complex. I don't care about this body. It's a body complex. Sure, I'll play with it. I'll give it its basic requirements. I could care less about it. I could care less if it dropped dead. I'm still here. I am the universe. I am all that is. I am everything. I am the nothing. I am all. I am null. I am now. I am forever. Right? I am love as essence. Right? If I serve God, God serves me. Right? We go back into the 5 laws of the soul. Right? Now is forever. Forever is now. You exist. Exist always. Okay? One is all is one. All right? Trying to remember all of them. Have to go back to the list. But basically, we look into those laws of the soul. And of course, we look at the top law. The top law represents that of you serve God, God serves you. Okay? So look into those 5 laws. That video is up on my YouTube channel. Okay? And when you look at those 5 laws, you're completely free. You're liberated. That is how the soul works. Right? Now is forever. Forever is now. One is all is one. Love is essence. Essence is love. That's the 4th law. Thank you. And then the 5th law is you serve God, God serves you. Okay? So is there anything about those 5 laws relating to you to have it put up a shield? For you to be guarded? For you to basically try to defend your insecurities? No. Because those are just ego things. Those are just things of mind. Okay? So I want you to look into that a little bit deeper. Don't just take my word for it, okay? Go in and look into this yourself. I'm not your grand chariot here. I'm not your grand facilitator of creatorship here. It's about you being able to look at these things and understand them yourself, okay? Anders puts up a good point. The ego serves money. You cannot serve both God and money. Exactly. It goes back to what Jesus says. No man can serve 2 masters. Either he will hate one and despise the other, or he will cling to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and mammon, or God and money, or materialism. Really, it's just we're talking about materialism. You're looking at the material plane and God, right? If you want to stick with the material plane, well, then God's not really going to be a part of your life, right? It's where the atheist comes in. But if you're able to realize you can jump past that material plane and come up into these higher love energy states, right? You're serving God and God is serving you, okay? Because you're touching that intelligence dimension. You devote yourself to that energy and now God becomes your slave, right? And this is exactly as the yogis will put it as well too. They'll tell you the exact same thing because I've experienced a lot of what they've experienced relating to this understanding, okay? And it's just about you guys experiencing it too. Because you have to see this for yourself. You have to experience this for yourself. You guys have to jump in the swimming pool and get wet. Rather than me saying, Brad, what's it like swimming in that swimming pool? I'll basically just take you and toss you right in. There you go. That's what it's like, right? If I could do that, throw you right in, I would. But no, I can't. This has to be through your own will. Your own will has to allow yourself to jump into that pool, right? Your own intention needs to make that happen. Okay, guys, thank you so much for being a part of this first episode of the Inner Mastery Webcast. So we will be back next Monday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific for the next webcast. And of course, this Friday will be the New Earth Teachings webcast as well, too. And of course, this Saturday is the Adronis event, Adronis the Universal Ladder. You can find more information on that at newearthteachings.com. Okay, thank you, guys, and I'll talk to you all on Friday. Take care, and may it be well with you.